All right, good morning. We're starting a little bit. I started to tell y'all 11. I started to tell y'all 11. All right, here we go. Okay, very good. So good morning. So I'm at the school, as you can see, and I'm talking a little bit, but let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about what we're doing next. First of all, real quick recap. Any questions about what we covered last week? We did skin analysis, and then we did the last thing I remember us talking about was skin types and all of that. Any questions about any of that material?
I don't have any questions, but I wanted to say that my camera is off because my laptop is not working, but it's kind of the issue I had before where like my camera wouldn't work. So I'll send you a video of it like not working. Sure. Okay.
All right, cool. This week, let me go ahead and share my screen. I think I still had everything up from last night. Let's see. I got so much stuff going on this computer. I was logged in. Log back in again. All right, so let's share my screen. All righty, so we did the treatment room, then we did skin analysis. So this week we're moving on to disorders and diseases. Now, the first one we're going to do is the one in the advanced class, which is actually the fundamentals chapter, disorders and diseases of the skin. And then after that, we are going to finish up the last chapter that we can do in the virtual setting for the LASH class, which is disorders and diseases and allergies of the eye area. So we'll do this one maybe Wednesday if we get to it, but more than likely. So we'll see how far we get with disorders and diseases of the skin, but this will be the next chapter that we do. This will be the last one that we do in the LASH course. I think the very last chapter in the LASH course is actually going to be done in your intermediate portion when you get on campus and you get in the classroom on campus, which is chapter 6. Eyelash extension application. So this will be the last one that we tackle on this side. And if I remember correctly, Jasmine, you told me you did get access to the LASH class. Nisha, you had access to the LASH class, so it was just Amiris that still did not have access to the LASH class. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Amiris, did you get a chance? I meant to text you this. Did you get a chance to do the ticket, this ticket in SEMA?
Yes, I did do a ticket. I did forget to email the ticket, so I'm gonna make another one and then email it to both of you.
Okay, that'll be good. That way we can go back to SEMA and say, look, we got these tickets done. All right.
Okay.
All right, so disorders and diseases of the skin. There were some videos that I was looking at. I know everyone has access to this chapter. There's a lot of stuff in this chapter. Did you all get through the portal work for the last chapter? That's the other question I had.
No, I haven't started.
From skin analysis?
Oh no, for the LASH. You said about the LASH course?
No, I meant the last one that we did last week, skin analysis and treatment room. Did y'all finish your portal work for those 2 chapters?
I finished it for the treatment room and I'm still working on the skin analysis.
Okay, what about you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same with me, I'm almost finished.
Almost finished with chapter 5?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got to take the test. I haven't taken the one for chapter 5 yet.
For chapter 5, but 7 is done, right? Treatment room?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, excellent. Okay, so we have a lot of stuff going on over here. Let me pull up my PowerPoint. We might be on this one this whole week and then move to the other one next week, depending on how it goes. Because I know we're not going to get through a whole lot today. Fundamentals. I did the wrong one. God have mercy. Me in this system today. This thing is delayed and I'm clicking too fast and I'm opening up the wrong stuff. So maybe I need to slow down. Chapter 4. That's foundations. Let's see, did I get the right one? Yes, I do. All right, fine. Can y'all see my screen? Thumbs up. Learning
Yes.
objectives. Okay, cool.
Yes, I can see it.
All right, bet. Okay, cool. All right, so learning objectives here, understanding why the knowledge of diseases and disorders is valuable for an esthetician, understanding how estheticians and dermatologists can work collaboratively, identify the differences between primary, secondary, and tertiary skin lesions, talking about the 3 different types of skin cancer and the skin changes that happen, discussing the different types of acne, PCOS. I found a really good video on that one, so we're gonna look at that. Vascular conditions and disorders, pigment disorders, dermatitis, hypertrophies, contagious skin and nail diseases, and then mental health conditions that may manifest as skin conditions, and then the common skin conditions related to diseases and disorders. And then the 5 sudoriferous gland disorders. So quite a bit. We're probably going to be here for a minute before we go over to that last chapter in the Lash book. All righty, so why is the knowledge for this important for an esthetician when this is technically not in your scope of practice to diagnose? Do we diagnose anything?
No.
What's a good word for what we do when it comes to what we observe on people's skin?
A good word would maybe be like educate or
Treat.
treat. Yeah.
We do treat at a level. So it's interesting because most times when you have a provider that treats, they usually diagnose. So it's interesting because we can't diagnose, but we can treat on certain levels, right?
Mhm.
So it's not in our scope of practice to diagnose, but we do need to recognize, right? So we observe, we recognize, we ask questions, and we make recommendations to go see their doctor because that's who can diagnose. So individuals with skin problems that have skin problems can be affected emotionally by dealing with such a visible problem. I mention my son a lot because he is going through it right now with this alopecia. I don't understand it. It hit him at 11, but he seemed to manage it or deal with it. But now that he's 16, I guess because teenager, high school, social stuff, it is messing with him so bad. So I've become a little bit more tuned into how this thing really, really can affect people when they have skin issues. Anyway, if it's a skin condition that you do not recognize, do not continue. Stop the service. Do not work on that because you could be making it worse and you could be putting yourself at risk as well. Posting a photo of your client's skin on social media and asking for advice is not the way to get the right answers on how to treat your client's skin. Are y'all in any esthetician groups?
No.
Get in the groups. Get in the groups. Get in the groups. Not only can you you can pick up some stuff, but you also will learn what not to do as well. There's a lot of behavior going on in that groups that you're like, I don't think that's how you're supposed to do that. Get in the groups. Get in the groups because you can see what you're not supposed to do just as much as picking up a few things here and there. But yeah, you need to understand this because recognizing potentially contagious skin disorders can stop the spread of infection. Again, putting yourself at risk is a real concern here. Also, You can help individuals that have skin problems and that have been affected emotionally by dealing with such a visible problem. And you learn when to stop a service and refer a client to a medical professional. That may save their life in the case of skin cancers, right? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Sometimes they can work collaboratively. I don't know if you've dealt with dermatologists pretty often or not. Some dermatologists actually have estheticians that work in their office with them that handle certain aspects of what they do. Some of them deal with things that are on an aesthetic level and some do not. So it just depends on what you're looking to do. But you may find a really, really nice collaboration there. And you can also learn some stuff. Sometimes they'll train you on things that you wouldn't have learned in school, and you'll work under them, and there's certain procedures or certain whatever treatments that they'll allow you to be a part of or even handle that you would not do if you weren't there. All right, so the branch of medical science that studies and treats the skin and its disorders and diseases is dermatology. And of course, the dermatologist is that physician who treats those skin disorders and diseases. Estheticians may not perform services on clients who have contagious or infectious diseases for obvious reasons, right? I don't think we need to go into that. You may not diagnose disorders and diseases of the skin. Being able to recognize them is critical. It might help you stand apart, but you can't diagnose out your mouth. You can help clients with common skin disorders like rosacea, acne, sensitive skin. And you also need to recognize the conditions that cause a contraindication to a treatment as well. Some skin disorders mean that you cannot move forward with the service, and you need to know when you're at that point and when you're not. Again, do not attempt to diagnose or treat a medical condition. Estheticians are not licensed to diagnose skin disorders and diseases. You must refer the clients to a medical professional if you think they have something that needs medical attention. I think we understand the difference between estheticians and dermatologists, right? Some estheticians do not realize that they are not a dermatologist, though. When I tell y'all get in these groups, you really can understand why. I'm trying to think of this one particular group that I want y'all to take a look at. I can't remember what the name of it is, so I'm pulling it up right now. I never go to Facebook anymore. And one of the main reasons I do not go to Facebook anymore, oh my God, I need to take a picture of this. This boy is 18 years old now. This is my son. I need to take a picture of this real quick. I gotta find this group. It is very interesting. It's for beginner estheticians. I'm gonna find it and post it if I can't find it quickly, and it don't look like I can find it quickly. So I'm gonna have to find them, to look it up and tell y'all what it is. Yeah, Facebook looks so weird to me now. I don't even know how to navigate Facebook anymore because I don't go to Facebook anymore. Oh, esthetician support group. I think this is the group. It just happened to pop up. Let me see. Esthetician support group, I think is what it's called. Yeah, this is it. There's 41,000 members in this group. It's a lot of very interesting things that happen in this group. It's very interesting. Join this group. It's for students and recent grads. It's just it's interesting information. I picked up a lot of information. I was in this group a lot when I was in school. I'm not in this group that much anymore, but lots of information in here, honestly. All right, so identify the differences between primary, secondary, and tertiary skin lesions. There's a bunch of them, and I think I'm probably going to go ahead and play the video. They go by level of depth. So primary lesions are pretty much in the epidermis. Secondary lesions go down into the dermis. Tertiary lesions are vascular lesions, which involve the blood or circulatory system. So they're even deeper than that. These are the pictures of them, but again, I think I'm gonna run that video real quick. It's 11:13, so there's quite a few. Spend some time with this because some of these are on state board. These are the same pictures from anatomy books that I've taught at when I've taught medical assistant students. I recognize these pictures, and there's quite a bit of them. This is supposed to be lipoma. All right, so some of the primary lesions, I'm gonna play the video because there's a lot of them here. I'm gonna play that video in just a second. So we're gonna look at the primary lesions and the secondary lesions. I don't think it goes into tertiary lesions a whole lot. There may be a few on here, but they're mostly primary and secondary. Also, I'm going to give an overview because we're already running out of time. We're going to be here for a minute because this is a very important chapter. Recognize the skin changes. So we're going to talk about skin cancer. And there's 3 main skin cancers that we'll talk about, which are here. Basal cell carcinoma, which is the most common and the least deadly. Squamous cell carcinoma is the one in the middle. It occurs more often than basal cell carcinoma. I mean, excuse me, it's less frequent occurring than basal cell carcinoma. It's a little bit more dangerous. And then the most dangerous of all that occurs the least is the malignant melanoma. This is the one that actually gets to the point where it kills people. So it's the most dangerous ones. We'll talk about oncology aesthetics and how to detect a melanoma. These are the things that we look at when we look at whether or not something could be cancerous or not. So we'll look at that. The different types of acne. So there's, do you know how many types or levels of acne there are?
No.
4. So we'll talk about those 4. Comedones, sebaceous filaments, and milia. We'll talk about the differences between those. These are the 4 grades of acne, so we'll talk about that. There's so much about acne. So triggers, medications, treatments. We'll talk about all of those. What else is in this chapter? Oh, and then PCOS. In the lesson plan, it says find a video on PCOS. I was looking at that last night. I did find a good one on that. So we may watch that. I don't know if we'll get to that one today or not. Vascular skin disorders. Vascular means what? What does that word mean?
Does it mean like your like blood or like veins, sort of?
Correct. Involving blood vessels. Vascular is a term that refers to blood vessels, blood flow. We'll talk about pigment disorders. And there's so much to talk about hyperpigmentation, and there's hypopigmentation. So we'll talk about pigment, dermatitis, and the different types of dermatitis. What else is in here? Hypertrophies. Hypertrophy refers to what? The word part trophy refers to growth, skin cell growth. Hyper means what?
Over.
Yes, excessive, a large amount. So hypertrophy is overgrowth. So anything that involves that, like hyperkeratosis, overgrowth of the dead skin or the keratinocytes, keratoma, which is a callus, and keratosis, and the difference between those. We'll look at that. It's a lot in this chapter. I don't think we're going to be out of this chapter this week at all. I'm talking about before we even go to the other one. Contagious diseases of the skin and nails. Very, very important that you recognize herpes when you see it. Because like I said before, herpes is an STD, virus 2 is an STD, but you can totally, it's skin to skin contact is how you get it, right? So really, really important that you recognize those. Onychomycosis, which is a fungal infection, Tinea corporis. These are fungal infections, so we'll look at those. And this is going to be very interesting. So the mental health conditions that can present as skin conditions, and then common skin conditions. So we'll look at a couple of videos and then we'll probably call it a day today. Sudoriferous gland disorders, anhidrosis. What is sudoriferous glands?
Say it one more time.
Sudoriferous glands are what? What are those? We talk about sebaceous glands all the time. Do we know what sebaceous glands are?
Are those the glands that kind of like produce like oil and like or like people that get like pimples and stuff like that? Like if there's too
Mhm.
much.
Oil glands. That's what sebaceous glands are. They are oil glands. They are oil producing glands. So contrary to sebaceous glands, we have sudoriferous glands. What are those? Sweat glands.
Mm.
So they secrete the watery substance that we think of as sweat. So these are sweat gland disorders here. Anhidrosis, and as a prefix mean without. Hydrosis, osis is a word part meaning condition or disorder. Hydro, H-I-D-R, is the word root that's referring to sweat. So therefore anhidrosis is what?
That anhidrosis,
Mm-hmm.
like excessive sweating.
A and an means without.
Oh, I
Without
guess
sweat.
like not producing any sweat.
Mm-hmm. Deficiency in perspiration, failure of the sweat glands to produce sweat, bromhidrosis, foul smelling perspiration caused by bacteria and yeast that are breaking down the sweat. It's because there's a lot of nutrients in sweat. We think of sweat as a waste product, but being a waste product, it's got a lot of organic ingredients in it. It's nitrogen in it, is sugar, is salt in it. So there's lots of stuff for bacteria and yeast to feed on. Okay, which is
So if you
why. Mhm.
sweat, does that mean you overheat? Like if you can't produce sweat, that means you can overheat, right?
Because sweat is how we do what?
Cool off.
Correct.
Mm.
Yep. So that's exactly true. That's exactly correct. That's why it says right there, it requires medical treatment. Because it's one of the ways that we detox our body. So if we can't do it, then we're holding on to toxins, right? So yeah, hyperhidrosis therefore must be what?
Over.
Correct. Chronic excessive perspiration. Diaphoresis. Excessive perspiration due to some medical conditions. That's what happens, mentions here, menopause is an example. And then you got prickly heat. So lots of stuff there. And then that brings us to the end of that chapter. So as you can see, there's a lot of stuff to cover here. Lots and lots of stuff. Let me switch gears to, how did that come up? This work. Okay, hold on. Where is, oh, I gotta sign back in again. It's a lot of good videos in this chapter. Four. So I'm gonna play this one first. Am I sharing sound? I don't think so. No, I'm not. So let's share sound.
Coming face to face with skin disorders and diseases. Let's face it, the world spends a fortune on beauty products. North of $426 billion a year, or more than double Ireland's entire economy. Oh, that's a lot of green. But even spending pots of gold doesn't mean we're always going to be able to put our best face forward. Every one of us, dermatologists say, will nurse a skin problem at some point. Many are genetic, what we're born with. But most people still report having way less confidence because of them. And that's the rub. Skin can be a sore subject even when it's feeling fine, just doing what comes naturally. To prevent skin from becoming a touchy subject for your guests, be on the lookout for the 3 C's: communicable, chronic, cancer. The first requires you to stop service. The second, a workaround will do. Third, you literally could save a life. Communicable or service-ending conditions pass between people. Stuff like warts, ringworm, and vesicles. Blisters caused by viruses like herpes simplex or varicella zoster. chickenpox. Infectious vesicles are nothing like the blisters you get limping around during a night out in your best pal's stilettos. Although borrowing shoes is one way to get warts. Vesicles are highly contagious, bright red, fluid-filled sacs. Chronic conditions include psoriasis, eczema, and rosacea. Psoriasis is raised red skin with flaky silver-white patches. Outbreaks usually follow a trigger, like mad stress or bad sunburn. Eczema is inflammation, making skin itchy, red, and dry, cracked and leathery in severe cases. It's most common in babies and typically sorts itself out with age. Rosacea peaks in folks between age 30 and 60 with fair skin or who blush easily. It creates redness on the cheeks, nose, and forehead, sometimes with pimple-like bumps, and is 3 times more common in women than men. When confronting chronic conditions in the salon, just avoid affected areas to prevent enraging the skin even more. Now, cancer. Fortunately, sightings in the salon are rare, but sadly, this is still need to know. Not to freak you out, but as a stylist, you're in a position to be the first to spot when some growth's gone bad. Basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, and the deadly malignant melanoma. If something's iffy, you don't want to panic your guest, but gently say, if you haven't already, you should have a doctor check out what I'm seeing here. There's scads about skin that's perfectly normal, even if not what we'd want to see in the mirror. Wheals, papules, pustules, macules, keloids. Skin tags, comedones, cystic acne. The medical term nevus, or plural nevi, is used for things we don't think of as beauty marks. They're not so pretty, but still harmless moles, birthmarks, and other pigmentation imperfections. Being a great stylist involves more than making people look beautiful. It's also about making your guests feel great. Knowing you've got their back, that you've got skin in the game on behalf of theirs, is a whole lot more valuable than anything they'll ever buy in a bottle.
Okay. Let's look at the skin lesions overview. I kind of like these videos because they're really detailed. They have some detailed pictures.
Primary lesions are in the early stages of development or change. They are characterized by flat, non-palpable changes in skin color or by elevations, such as vesicles or pustules, formed by fluid in a cavity. A bulla is a large blister containing watery fluid. It is similar to a vesicle, but larger. A cyst is a closed, abnormally developed sac containing fluid, infection, or other matter above or below the skin. An acne cyst is one type of cyst. A macule is a flat spot or discoloration on the skin, such as a freckle or a red spot left after a pimple has healed. Macules are neither raised nor sunken. A papule is a small elevation on the skin that contains no fluid but may develop into a pustule. A pustule is an inflamed papule with a white or yellow center that contains pus. Pus is a fluid consisting of white blood cells, bacteria, and other debris produced by an infection. A vesicle is a small blister or sac containing clear fluid. Poison ivy and poison oak produce vesicles. A scab on a sore is an example of a crust or dead cells formed over a wound or blemish during healing. Crusts result in an accumulation of sebum and pus, sometimes mixed with epidermal material. A fissure is a crack in the skin that may penetrate into the dermis. Fissures are seen on chapped lips and hands. A scar is a discolored, slightly raised mark on the skin formed after an injury or lesion is healed. The tissue hardens to heal the injury.
Okay, questions on those?
Nope.
Let's look at the skin cancer video. With what little time we have left.
Basal cell carcinoma is the most common and the least severe type of carcinoma. It often appears as light, pearly nodules. Squamous cell carcinoma is a more serious condition than basal cell carcinoma. It is characterized by red or pink scaly papules or nodules. A malignant melanoma is the most serious form of skin cancer. It appears as a black or dark patch on the skin that is usually uneven in texture, jagged, and raised.
Okay, that was super short. Let me see what this one is. This facts about. Okay, no, that's not a video. Or is it? Skin examination activity, acne 101, PCOS. All right, let's check out the acne video. So you'll see these videos again when you go through your chapter. Do y'all watch the videos when you're doing your portals? Or you kind of skip over them?
There are 4 grades of acne. Its
like that.
severity is determined by the number of lesions, comedones, papules, pustules, and cysts. Grade 1 acne is characterized by minor breakouts, mostly open comedones, some closed comedones, and a few papules. Grade 2 acne is characterized by many closed comedones, more open comedones, and occasional papules and pustules. Grade 3 acne involves red, inflamed skin, and many comedones, papules, and pustules. Grade 4 acne is cystic acne. Cysts with comedones, papules, pustules, and inflammation are present. Scar formation from tissue damage is common.
Okay, so quick recap, because that was a lot of videos back to back to back. So working backwards, because that's how my mind tends to work sometimes. How would you describe just real quickly off in that video, the difference between the 4 grades of acne?
Maybe like its severity and the amount of like pustules that are there.
Okay, so grade 1 would be anybody? Y'all quiet today. What would grade 1 be? How many, like, give me some descriptive words.
Would it just be having like pustules on the skin?
Mm-hmm. Not many, mostly open or closed, mostly closed, right? Grade 2 would be, how would you describe that as it relates to, in comparison to grade 1?
Patchy.
Okay. Or more simply put, more comedones than grade 1. Some open, mostly closed, but more closed than grade 1, right? Grade 3 would be what?
It would
Yeah, well,
probably be more than grade 2, and a lot of them would be open or more so
Correct.
open too.
Correct. And grade 4 was, what
I
was the
guess like
term she used?
severe like version of it, and it had a lot of like cystic acne.
Cystic acne is the word you want to come up with for grade 4. Okay, going back to skin cancer, just a quick test of how well you was paying attention. What were the 3 types again of skin cancer?
I know the most like severe one, and the one that has like it's like a dark patch and is like not even all around is like melanoma.
Mm-hmm. Malignant melanoma. The least common and the most deadly. What are the other 2?
Corona.
Say again.
Corona.
Oh,
They're carcinomas.
yeah, that's what
Mm-hmm. basal cell carcinoma, and squamous cell carcinoma. Basal cell carcinoma, BCC, squamous cell carcinoma, SCC. Basal cell carcinoma is the most commonly occurring skin cancer out there, and it is the least malignant. Well, they're all malignant. It's the least deadly. Squamous cell carcinoma occurs less, but is more dangerous. So they go in order of occurrence and severity or malignancy. Basal cell carcinoma, most commonly occurring, easiest to heal from, least deadly, to squamous cell carcinoma, which is more severe, more deadly, more dangerous, but occurs less often than basal cell carcinoma. And then malignant melanoma happens the least out of the three, but it is the most deadly. If you remember those three, and then how they look, that malignant melanoma is always very dark to black. So it's very visible on white skin, light skin. And then squamous cell carcinoma can be varying colors from red to dark. And then basal cell carcinoma sometimes appears as like some of these other types of skin conditions where it's more resembling of your skin color and not as deep and dangerous looking. And then we'll go back again over some of those other lesions because it's a ton of lesions. It's a ton of them. All right. What's one lesion you learned from the video or from the conversation today? One lesion that you're either familiar with, experienced with, or you heard today that it stuck with you. One skin lesion, because it's a bunch of them. Which one do you remember?
Vascular.
So vascular is a type or a way to describe a skin lesion. It's not a skin lesion itself. Remember any of the names that were given in the video?
Is like papule one of them?
And
Papules, macules. Say again.
With the pimple. Like,
Pimple is a type of papule, but if it's cystic acne, it could be considered a pustule. So a papule is just a raised bump, but it's a pustule when there's pus in it and infection in it. So the difference between a papule and a pustule would be like grade 1 acne versus cystic acne. Does that make sense?
mm-hmm.
Okay, so I heard macules are these freckles, right? All right, good. All right, so give you a little bit of context to now start going through chapter 4 and start reading it for yourself, doing some of the activities. We'll stay here because it's a ton of stuff, as y'all can see, to go through. And once we get done with this, we'll skip on over to the disorders and diseases of the eye chapter in the LASH course. All right, what questions do you have? Any questions, concerns?
No, thank you.
Amaris, go ahead and do another one of those tickets for your LASH class. And how are you coming with your LASH portal work, Jasmine, now that you have access?
I haven't started it, but I'm planning on starting it probably like today once I finish what was that, chapter 5 or what's
Yes.
chapter? Yeah.
Okay. All right, ladies, thank you so much for being adjustable with my time. I'll be here Wednesday too, so I will get myself together to be on time on Wednesday, so we don't have to start late. All right, if you don't need anything else, I'm gonna call it here. Let me stop the recording actually. And then